Around the Kit with Joe Guests.
And now your host, Joe Gansas.
Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome back to Around the Kids video live stream show. Today, Sunday night, August 28th. I'm your host, Joe Gansas, and for the next 2 hours, we'll be talking drums, and if that's not enough, drums some more. Guys, we got another action-packed show. 5 tremendous world-class drummers. Our roundtable in a little bit will feature 3 tremendous, not only educators and drummers, but conveyors during these little roundtables and discussions. 8:10 to 8:25 p.m. Eastern Time. Dave Stark, Jim Toscano, and Joe Franco. Our main guests tonight, returning guests, and always love conveying thoughts with them. In our 8:30 p.m. spot tonight, Troy Luccketta. And in the 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time slot, Mickey Curry. Always love having him on. They've been on the show many times. I haven't had Mickey on in a long time. We've had some great conversations with the legendary Mickey Curry. And when you think about these guests, Troy, all the years in Tesla, doing other things now, of course, but that legendary career in Tesla, and Mickey Curry, what can you say? From Hall & Oates to The Cult to Alice Cooper, and Brian Adams, who he's still playing with today. So a tremendous career by both of them. We're happy to have them. Always love these types of guests where you can talk about a long spanned career, and in Mickey's case, over 50 years in the business, and probably Troy, over 40. So we'll talk to them in a little while. I'm so excited to have them on as I am. I'm just always excited to do the show, and it's because of you, the viewers, that give us this opportunity every 2 weeks to come live. If we can take a moment to see what's coming up on Around the Kid, that would be very influential in a way. Our next show is September 11th with the legendary Robin Flanz. We'll be talking about her storied career. She's been on the show many times, but her latest book, It's About Time. It's a great title for the late, great Jeff Pecora, who we lost, I think, a couple of weeks ago, 30 years ago, this month. So gone 30 years, but definitely not forgotten when you think about Jeff Pecora. And also our next show, September 25th, Mike DeRosier, of course, from Heart, all those years, now in a band called Heart to Heart, where they do heart songs, and the lovely and talented Kelly Ray Tubbs. We got some great shows coming up. We are booked up right now until December, and we're always grateful to that. We've been doing interviews on the side, so we got a lot of stuff going on, and we just, it's this great team. If I could tell a little story real fast, last week was our big show for Steve Smith, and we celebrated his birthday, August 21st. The roundtable was about Steve Smith. Laura Pepe Altieri, it was her best work. I sent John and Laura a statement from Steve Smith. He took the time to even mention Laura, how he was touched by her words in her segment. So last week's show was really like a top 10 show. It was one of those special shows. The roundtable was about Steve, and what a great interview. Steve was so appreciative. He's been sharing the show. So we love shows like that where everything falls into fruition, everything comes into place. So hopefully tonight's that kind of show, but we've been doing some great things, and we're going to be doing this new series. We haven't had a name for it yet, but we got this cool series coming up where the guest, Joe Gansas, that's me. How's my hair? We're going to go to the guest. What do you mean? Well, wherever the guest is playing, whether they're playing in Manhattan, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Jersey, Staten Island, all around this area, if there's a guest and they're playing a gig, we're going to go to them and do interviews. I'm so pumped up for this. Not going to be long interviews, maybe half hour long, but wherever they're going to be, if it's backstage in the afternoon, if it's in their apartment, if it has to be in the back of my truck, and I mean that, if it has to be done that way, we're so excited for this, and I think I can say this because it's going to happen. Our first one we're going to be doing is going to be probably in another month. We're going to go to Manhattan and hang out with Steve Smith for a half hour. It just got goosebumps. He's doing this residency at Birdland in Manhattan, and he's already pumped up about it. We're going to go to Steve's probably apartment and just talk to him. And I think it's a cool little feature that nobody's doing. We're going to go to the guests. So it could be in their trailer. It could be in a parking lot, just hanging out with 2 chairs. But we're so pumped for that. And me and my producer, John Bessa, is going to just, you know what? Let's put John on the spot. Let's bring John on here if we can. And let's bring John. John, you there, bro?
Yeah, I'm here. Wait a minute.
It's our...
You're not really going to hear me, though.
Yes, we can hear you.
No, you can't really hear me. I have to yell.
Well, yell.
No, I don't even have a camera hooked up. I can't even. You put me on the spot.
Good. We're gonna pump. We're gonna be doing these shows, man. Me and you. We're gonna go there, and I know you're looking forward to this also.
Yes, very much so. From the back, from the beyond. Yes.
And after the show's over, he's gonna say, "Why did you do that? Why was there no camera on me?"
Tell me that you were correct.
I know.
I should have had it. You're right.
Guys, can I tell you something? We had the whole show planned. That wasn't planned, and he's gonna kill me. But what are you gonna do? It's live. We got a great show tonight. If we can now take a time to play our main sponsor right now for you guys, the tremendous Centen Cymbals. Around the Kit is sponsored by Centen Cymbals. Centen Cymbals is quickly becoming the choice for drummers worldwide. With their roots going back to the emperors of the Qing dynasty, Centen blends the best of old world know-how with modern techniques to help all drummers find the best fit for them. Whether you're an avid drumming enthusiast or touring professional, Centen has the perfect combination of products, pricing, and service to fit any drummer's needs. Contact them today to find out what the drum love is really all about. Centen Cymbals. Forge your sound. Hey guys, we are live, back from our Centen spot. We got 3 of the best in the world of drumming on the line now, and I'm so happy to have them back once again. They're all returning guests: Jim Toscano, Dave Stark, and Joe Franco. Guys, what's going on, brothers?
Hey.
Doing, man.
Hopefully there's no crackling. Hi, guys. Is that better?
Thanks for having us on, man. Really appreciate it.
Good. Is Joe? I can't hear Joe.
I'm here.
Joe, what's up, brother?
Oh. You're up, man.
Joe, thanks for doing this. Thanks for doing this. I know it's your daughter's birthday today, and you take some time for us.
No. I'm down helping her move into her new pad. She's
I'm sorry.
Moved to Miami. Yeah.
Good.
Wow.
You took some time. Dave Stark and Jim Toscano. Guys, thanks so much. You've all been on the show before. Dave, what's up, brother?
I'm just doing my thing, going, like nonstop, but it's all good.
What is up, Jim?
Same here, man. Just making it happen every day. Online clinics, coaching people, all that stuff, man. It's been fun.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Jim's show, who I'm a big fan of. And people always say to me, Joe, why do you talk about other drummers' podcasts? Because that's what we do. We help each other out. So I'm a big fan of what Jim does. We'll talk about that. But if I can really fast, I want to get to this question. And it's a question I've been pondering all week and I want to start with Joe Franco because he was on the show recently. We talked about this, how in music, we have a guitar chord, say it's a certain riff. And this guy says, well, he stole it from me. He stole my drum part. He stole my quads. He stole that double bass shuffle. I don't even know why we use that word stealing, but Joe Franco, we talked about this. You remember about 7 weeks ago, how we talked about Alex Van Halen, Hoffa Teacher, and how it could be from Billy Cobham or you or Cozy Powell or Simon Phillips. But and in the end, it's a Alex Van Halen beat, Joe. He didn't steal it. It's if we borrow it, but it's out there. It's just like it's in the air to grab. So I don't even like this whole stealing thing, Joe.
Yeah, I like to give credit to people who initiate things, who, the first to record certain things and this and that. But like, I don't call it stealing as well. I mean, it's just basically we all borrow from each other, and we're all influenced by everything we ever heard. So it's kind of like, yeah, I think, and if somebody did play something identically to the way you played it, that's a compliment.
Yeah,
So I don't get the word steal. Yeah.
yeah. How many times you hear a certain chorus in a song, guys? It could be a metal song or a pop song, and you're like, wow, it's the same chord structure. There's probably a million songs with the same chord structure, Jim Toscano. But I think at times we have to, say it's just out there. You didn't create it, Jim. I didn't create it. So what's your thoughts about that? About it's just borrowing stuff, but not even. It's just, doing what we do, brother.
I totally agree. I mean, one thing that Joe said that I agree with too is, you pay homage to the person that maybe initiated something like Purdy Shuffle, right? So he's always going to get credit for being maybe one of the first guys to play a halftime shuffle. But then down the line, it's been borrowed and morphed and changed slightly. And maybe the ghost notes are a little bit different. And then Ash Sohn did something, in on Seal's record where he played a halftime shuffle and he did it a little bit differently. But I think we're all contributing to, as a whole, to what we do as drummers. And I think it's that bond that we have. We're never pissed at each other for borrowing a riff ever, not like guitar players anyway. So, we'll always give credit where credit is due and share ideas in the drum community, so I totally agree.
Yeah, there's a cool song. If you guys are familiar with David Lee Roth's solo career, I love it. It's a song off Eat 'Em and Smile called Elephant Gun. It's 2 minutes and 23 seconds of just Greg Bissonette, just awesome. And it's similar. It's it's almost like a little. It's faster than Hot for Teacher. But I just say it's Greg being Greg. Dave Stark, and we have to. But I love a word that Jim just used: contributing. We have this contribution to music, and however we convey our thoughts should be allowed. Dave.
I agree. You know what? I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking about, I don't know if I've ever had an original idea in my whole body. Everything I did, it came from somebody else. Growing up as a little kid, what did I do? I put on tunes or listen to the radio and, put it on a little tape or something, record it and play it. And I listened to it until I could figure it out and play it. And then maybe, kind of like what Jim was saying as well, maybe it morphed into something else. Maybe I put a little spin. But the original root of the idea of what I started came from somebody else. And hey, I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for, 3 decades for over, and everything I do is teach students how to rip off other people. But it's not ripping off. It's the highest compliment. If somebody does something that I'm doing, when somebody says to me, man, I could tell that guy was your student or that girl was your student because they sound just like you, that's the highest compliment I can get. They're emulating me. So and I've just emulated others. That's the word I like to use. So
Guys, we're in the middle of this great roundtable with 3 of the best in the business: Jim Toscano, Dave Stark, and Joe Franco. Joe, I want to go back to you because we've talked about your videotapes that are just legendary, double bass stuff. You've done stuff in there, Joe, that I have taken and I've altered. I've made them different. So what?
I'm flattered. I mean, yeah. It's just like that's why
It's
you
part of
put
what
it
we
out
do.
there,
It's what we do. It's what we do as musicians. We hear something that you did, and I think it's like you said, it's the highest form of a compliment. When someone takes something and makes it their own.
No, agreed. And I mean, look at what we do when we do drum clinics and we teach. I mean, we're always sharing ideas. That's what we do. That's how I learned a lot of things, and that's how people learn from me. You just share the information.
Do you have anything that you've done on any albums where you remember where you said, you know what, I need a part here. You know what, I like that part from so and so. Let me do something like that.
I don't know if I said I like it from so and so, but I play it and then after the fact say like, "Oh, I know where I got that from." You know, that's that Billy Cobham lick.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, everyone does that lick, you know. And yeah, the first time I heard it was Billy, and you know that's a perfect example. That lick has been done a gazillion times, you know.
And Jim Toscano, do you think at times because I'm a big Queensryche fan, big Scott Rockenfield fan, and after the fact, I look at him saying, "Wow, I didn't do it on purpose, but I actually play like Scott." So you think if we hear something for over and over, we almost become that person in a little bit?
I don't know if we become that person, but I think that little bits of everybody make up the whole of who we become as a musician, right? So as you go along, this little data, this little DNA from this guy sticks in your head, and then the little DNA from this guy sticks in your head, and little by little you're building your own style. But those elements and the people that have influenced you will come out. No doubt I was influenced by Joe Franco. I mean, in my book, and I think he may remember my call to him when I put out Filling in the Grooves, the Thunder from Down Under page, which is all double bass stuff. I gave a little tribute to Joe in that paragraph introducing the page because I learned from playing his double bass book.
Yeah.
And so we take a little bit from this and we take a little bit from that, but I don't think we necessarily become that person. At least I hope we don't. We want to become the individual musician that we are, but we do get all of our influences kind of make up our own DNA as a player, you know?
Great, great stuff, brother. Dave Stark, it's like a big salad. I mean, we take the ingredients from this and this and this, and we put it all, and we make our own little recipe.
Sure. You know what? I'm thinking as you guys are talking about. I'm not sure if you know who Mike Mallon is. He's a good friend of mine. Mike played with the Goo Goo Dolls for like 20 years, and then he moved to Nashville, and now he's been playing with Tanya Tucker. And I had him on as a guest in my Careers in Music thing, and he was talking about how I said, "How did you prepare for that gig? It's such a like, you know, such a major turn, you know." And he said he went back and he listened to every record and he realized every record in her career, which started when she was, what, 15, 16? Yeah, she started. He goes, every record had a different drummer, every one of them. And he goes, I feel like, he goes, you know, people talk about these tribute bands. He goes, I feel like I'm in like the ultimate tribute band. You have, you know, he goes, every song and every record had a different feel and they had different producers. And he goes, so, you know, it was smart thinking. But the way he did it, he went to go cop each feel, you know, for each tune, and that's how he ended up, he said, going in and getting the gig. And it is in a way, like I hear a lot of guys, I've heard that come up with a few of my friends from Nashville, that like the way the system is based there, that they don't play on the record. Somebody else plays on the record, E or Z or whoever, you know, and then those guys go out on the road, and he goes, I almost feel like, you know, we're you know, playing somebody else's parts. We didn't come up with them, but we all have the same, you know, vocabulary. It's just what's different is that our feel that we put on it, and can we emulate, you know, can I make something sound like Ringo? 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I thought I can, and I realized I can't come close to making anything sound like Ringo. Like it's just like I can play the same thing. I can write it out for a student. I can play it with a band, but you know, I can, as close as I get. The older I get, I feel like I'm getting further away because it's just this swagger or whatever he has. You know?
Yes, I'll go one more time around, and we got a great round table. Jim Toscano, Dave Stark, and Joe Franco. Joe, can you listen to somebody, before I let you go, can you listen to a certain song sometimes and say, that's so-and-so? Do you think you have that? Have you heard so much stuff, or you heard somebody's playing, you could say, I know who that is, because I hear that style.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's certain drummers that have such a unique style about them. You know, I think if I hear drummers like, say, to Simon Phillips, I know it's Simon Phillips. He just has a thing. Terry Bozzio. No one sounds like that. You know, there's just players. You know, Steve Gadd. You know, although so many people emulate Steve Gadd, there's only one guy that's Steve Gadd. You know. So yeah, I think I can recognize a lot of drummers because they're just so, you know, they're so unique. And then if somebody copies them or borrows from them, it still doesn't sound like them. Like what you said, like what Dave said about Ringo. You could sound like Ringo, You can try to sound like Ringo, but there's only one Ringo.
Yeah,
He just
abs-
has that swing, that
Mhm.
thing.
yeah. How about you, Jim? Have you been there and you said, "Wow, that sounds like so and so," and it was?
Absolutely. I mean, there's just, that's a real compliment to those players. Even what Joe just said about Simon, when it's Simon. When you hear Simon playing it, it's Simon. When you hear Gad play, it's Gad. I was in my studio over the weekend. I had an intern in here, and we were rewiring a few things, and we just had a mix of tracks going, and I was like, "That's definitely Virgil Donati." I didn't know the tune, but I just knew it was Virgil. You can tell his style. So,
Yeah.
and the same thing with Ringo, man. If you hear Ringo playing, you pretty much know it's him. Um, and I think that's a real testament to people having their own voice and their own style and their own feel. And we study them. I mean, my whole life I've been listening to records going like, man, trying to figure out what Vinny's up to. It's like, it's pretty intense.
Right. So if it was Virgil, it had to be something like.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Dave Stark, how about you, bro? Can you do that and you hear something you say, I think that I know what that is?
Yeah, and you know what? I was also gonna say like the opposite. Like sometimes I'll be in my car just letting things stream, and it'll start somewhere, and the next thing will come on, and the next thing will come on, and I'll have like Amazon Prime Music or something, and I'll go, man, I'm like this, and I'll think that it's like a Jeff Porcaro track, and then I'll find out who it was, and it was like Jim Keltner, and they were friends,
Yeah.
and I'm like, who copied? Because they're such good friends, and it's just like, and they were, they hung out, and Jeff looked up to Jim, and Jim kind of took him under his wing, and there was a tune that I really just always thought my whole life that Jeff played on, and found out it was Jim, and I get why that happened, because they even had like this similar sound and the similar way they play. They're different drummers, but kind of took a different spin for me, because for 40 years of my life I thought that was Porcaro as a kid playing on some record. So.
Yeah. Just a fast plug. My next show is August 11th with Robin Flans, and we'll be talking about her book, September 11th, with Robin Flans, her Jeff Porcaro book. It's about time. But Dave, what do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug out there?
Oh, I'm just doing what I do, just teaching and gigging a lot down here in Florida. It's busy, down here. There's a lot of work if you want it, So I'm just doing what I do, and I had taken off for a while. Kind of Jim brought it up, that the thing that we did for Sabian the other day, how people like are finally out. Like everybody was home, and like people kind of went out, and I kind of took my thing off of line of doing this monthly careers in music thing, and I had to get back into doing that again. So that probably start up next month with some of my drumming friends, but you'll see it. So.
Joe, what's coming up in the Joe Franco world?
Well, cool things coming out on the 1st. When's the 1st? Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday.
I did a really cool little interview with Modern Drummer commemorating the 40th anniversary of double bass drumming, my drum book. And it's a cool interview because we went back to the real roots of, as far as double bass and rock, and we talked about Ginger Baker, Carmine. We saw the whole evolution of things, and so I think it'll be a good read. And so it's coming out Thursday.
Good. And Jim, please, let's talk about your great podcast you've been doing, and when can people check that out? What day it's on.
So for one thing, all of the archived episodes are up on my YouTube channel. So Simon Phillips, I just had Annika and Nils on. Been some great interviews recently. And this Tuesday night at 7 p.m., I have John Riley, great New York staple jazz drummer, great guy too. So he's on the show this week. And Jason Gianni is going to be in studio with me in 2 weeks. We'll be sitting here together doing it live in person. So that'll be fun. I have PASIC coming up this year. I'm doing a drumming and technology clinic at PASIC 2022. And I have a little article out in Modern Drummer this month on the offset pedals. As you know, I'm an offset guy, and I've been playing their pedals for a long time. So I did a really in-depth interview, and there's a follow-up video, a very in-depth video of that article coming out soon. So,
well, if you can't, because me and my producer, we wanted to check them out. What is different than the offset than a regular double bass pedal?
So the offset pedal, you basically have your beaters in the center, both
Right.
beaters,
And the two-
but you have basically 2 pedals off to the side. So your snare drum is directly in front of your bass drum, and the center beater housing is right in front of your snare drum stand. So you basically, you know how on a secondary pedal on regular double bass pedals, it always feels like one is direct contact and one always felt kind of weird or lighter, and you really had to try to dial that in. These pedals just feel like you're on 2 bass drums. They're really amazing, and what they've done with it over the years has gotten so much better. I have 5 sets of them, 2 for the road. I have 3 in here, and I just love those pedals, and they're doing such a great job with it.
Does it make you configure your set differently in the beginning, or you got to used to that?
Yeah, like here, I'll show you my overhead. So there's the overhead of my kit. You could see my pedals sit really centered like a regular double bass kit, but if
Yeah.
you look at my snare drum, my bass drum is directly in front of my snare drum. So I'm able to tuck my toms in really tight, and it's really ergonomic. Like I don't have to rotate to get to my primary ride on the left or my ride over on the right. I'm really very ergonomically set up. So I love the way that design has gotten my kit to be way more ergonomic, and the pedals feel great. Really highly adjustable. Takes you a little time to get used to dialing everything in, but they're really, really special. Yeah.
Cool. Guys, another tremendous roundtable. Thank you so much, Joe Franco, Dave Stark, Jim Toscano. It's so great to have you guys on again. You've always given me a time, and I always say thank you guys so much.
Can I say one last thing? Let's
Yes.
Just send some love out to Dom Famularo.
Yes.
Yes, we will.
Absolutely.
We will. Absolutely. We are praying for Dom, as always.
And happy birthday, Dom.
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Dom.
Yeah, always in
Happy
our prayers.
birthday.
Guys, thanks so much. Have a great night.
Thanks for having us. All right.
You got it.
Have a good
All
night.
right.
Thanks, sir. See you
Good
guys.
stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Guys, great roundtable, and yes, I know Dom's going through some stuff. Dom Famularo, him and you heard it in Jim's voice there, a little emotional. So please keep Dom Famularo in your prayers. He's fighting the biggest fight of his life. He's been on the show more than 10 times, and I just got goosebumps. He's given me so much. We owe so much in the drumming world, without a doubt, to Dom Famularo. Please keep him in your prayers. But thank you guys for that great roundtable. It's almost time for our first guest. If I get the key, he's ready. I like when my producer tells me things like, you look good and stuff. You don't say that, but if we can, let's get to our first main guest, a guy who I just love so much and always given me so much reality and fresh take, the great Troy Luccketta. Troy, Joe Gans, what's up, brother?
How are you, Joe? Good to see you, man. I was wondering if I was going to see you at this.
Nah, man. I don't want to curse, but I'm always freaking pumped up for you, man. You're just a beautiful human being and a world-class player. We've always had a great rapport, and I say thank you, brother, once again.
Oh, thank you, man. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Oh, man. First of all, how you doing today? What's going on? How was your Sunday?
My Sunday was pretty excellent, man. I'm kind of working on a chicken coop outside. Yeah, so I have a friend over here, and I know nothing about these chickens, but the guy that stays with me here, it's kind of his thing, and he wanted to get some chickens, and so we started on this thing. But it's like it's a clubhouse. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The great Troy Luccketta. Thank you for your time, brother. I want to start with you. I just posed the question on our roundtable. I'm not sure if you've seen it with Joe Franco, Dave Stark, and Jim Toscano. How we find ourselves sometimes, Troy. I guess emulating. We're not a big fan of copying. You might have had a song for all the years you've been playing that you played a drum beat and you said, "Wow, that's from so and so." Have you been in that situation where you heard something you liked and you wanted to borrow it and make it your own?
Absolutely. Actually, it was Tony Thompson. I mean, if you listen to the song we did called Heaven's Trail, it's got the hi-hat opening on the quarter note, 1, 2. So it's I stole it right from him. Yeah, so you know, you know what they say: good guys borrow, great guys steal. So I want to be one of the great guys. So yeah, I mean, but you know, there's a song called "Cover Queen" on our first album, and I went back and listened to it. And if you go to what was the first release with Steve Gadd, Up Close. He had a VHS that was I forget who it was out on, Starlix or one of those Hot Licks or one of those early like 30 plus years ago kind of thing, and I went back and I listened to it and I was like, oh my God, I stole it note for note. But it wasn't. At the time I didn't steal it. I had probably just subliminally. But when I went back and listened to it and played, it's like this hi-hat thing where you're playing the 16th on the hi-hat, but you're hitting the quarter note on the bell. You know.
Okay.
So
Right.
so you get the quarter note bell, but you're getting the 16th on the hi-hat. It's a really cool thing. And yeah, it's funny. I went back and watched the video. I'm like, how close was I? Because I really didn't mean to like steal it or take it that way, but maybe I was just heavily influenced, and it just worked so beautifully in the track. I played it, you know.
Right. When you hit the bell, was it opening too at the same time? That'd be cool.
This was no, when I was hitting the bell on the right.
On the right. Okay. Oh, cool.
So I'm playing the hi-hat. It's kind of like 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2. So you get the quarter note this on the thing, bah, you know, you get that quarter note feel
Okay.
with the hi-hats playing the 16th underneath it. And I'd
Now-
open the hi-hats and do a few scoops in there. It was really sweet little groove, man. It was very cool.
Cool. Great stuff. If we can, I wanted to talk about you right now, and what's going on with you right now. Where are we now in your life? You know, playing for a long time. We always say, years ago, oh, I want to be a certain place in my life when I get this age, when I get to be this age, and I'm, and we have these goals. Up to this point in life, have you reached the goals you want to reach? Are you looking forward to future and new stuff?
Well, you know, quite honestly, man, I've been so blessed, you know, with the guys in the band, you know, for the last 36 years playing music. And, you know, I don't want to say there's really nothing left to do in that circle for me.
Right.
In terms of making records. I mean, we've kind of done everything that, you know, and you just stay on the road and you play. And I am a guy that likes to reinvent myself. And I've been really blessed to play on a lot of other records. I am in the middle of a record with a guy named Brian Hardgroove. He's from Public Enemy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been recording tracks and sending stuff back with him, and that's going well. And we're probably going to do something at NAMM together. And then also, I'm in the middle of quite a few records here at my house. I've got a studio here, so I've been doing some other records that I'm putting time and energy into, some stuff that I'm really excited about doing. Am I satisfied? I'm satisfied with the work that I've done up to this point, but I'm definitely not satisfied in terms of where I'm headed and what I'm doing. And I'm very proactive with a lot of stuff behind. Something came up today. I got two things, touring situations that I'm probably looking at right now. I'll know tomorrow on one of them because I got the call over the weekend, and I can't talk about it, of course. And, you know, everybody's always asking about what's going on with the Tesla thing. I'm just, you know, right now it's at a standstill. You know, we're just kind of, you know, we had the whole COVID thing happen, and quite honestly, it kind of put me out of the running for a little while.
Right.
And you know, so with that being said, God bless Steve. He's doing a great job out there. The band's killing it. Everybody's sounding great. I'm really happy for what they're doing and the guys are doing. And we're just all kind of working through this thing together. You know what I mean? And it's good, you know, and there's so many blessings for so many of us in that circle. You know, Steve's being blessed. He gets to get out and play with the band. He's always been, you know, kind of the guy behind the scenes. If I couldn't make it, we always knew Steve was going to be the guy. And for me, it's exciting because I'm at a good place, and I've got some really. I went out and did a thing with the Guess Who. That was kind of nice. I just kind of filled in for Gary Peterson, and he's the only original member left. And I went out and did this thing with a band called Completely Unchained, their Van Halen tribute band. I went out and did some few dates with those guys, and they are the #1 tribute. And the singer called me today. He just offered me 10 dates in November, which would pretty much take up most of November. So I told him I would get back to him. I hadn't really been jumping on anything. I just been wanting to stay home, man. I've been out so much working and playing. Locally, I've got me a James Taylor tribute. I play in a classic rock tribute. I did a little thing with the Zeppelin thing. I got a bottom kit in the back. It's all good, man.
Yeah.
Everything is really in a good place musically for me right now. Yeah.
Yeah, talk to me about the Van Halen thing. And I have my producer, John Bessa. He was in a great Van Halen tribute band a couple of years back, and my brother-in-law runs a great band called Intruder. But I don't think people understand how good Alex is. He never gets mentioned. He never gets mentioned, but his drum parts are not always that easy. I mean, they're not hard, but it's this process where you have to really think things out a way.
Well, I mean, the thing about Alex is he's an individual. He's a unique enough player to have his own voice.
Yeah.
And in what we do, at least for me growing up, that was really all I want. I never wanted to be somebody else. I always wanted to find my lane and be in my lane. And that lane I figured out with Tesla very early on. I knew exactly what my lane was because I was a huge, like everybody else, Porcaro and Bonham freak and a Steve Gadd freak. So I'm like, man, I'm just going to go down the middle of that road and be able to kind of draw from all those influences, and Ian Pace was probably my really greatest inspiration at a young age, probably even over John. I loved all the John stuff, but man, I really dug Ian's thing. And today I went back and I got a chance to do a full 90-minute set of Zeppelin with a band called what was their name? I'm going to think of it here in a second, from the West Coast. A really great tribute band, and the singer was from LA, a guy named Keith St. John. But anyway, coming back to Alex, what I'd like to say about that was when I got asked to do it. I mean, I'm not a big double bass guy, and I think I shared that with you last time we talked. So, I got a chance to really work on the shuffles, and I said, well, if I could figure out this, this Hot for Teacher thing, then yeah, I'd be happy to do it, And so I took it on just so I'd get off my ass and play, and I love all the music, and I had to learn 24 songs and just do a little 2-hour sound check and do 3 in a row with them. And it was beautiful, man. And I learned something really, the interesting thing, the second day I didn't even realize how comfortable I was already in that seat playing. And I caught myself. I remember we were doing Running from the Devil, Running with the Devil, or
yeah,
Running from the Devil.
The Devil.
I changed the lyrics. So but point being, I remember hitting and playing it, and I was right away. I kicked into that what be autopilot of just playing the way I normally would play, which was too heavy. I hit it a little aggressively too hard, and I realized it, and I figured it out. It was the second show, it was the sound check, and I just backed off, and I realized you can't play that music that way, man. It's a much lighter, dancey kind of feel. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, that's what I love about playing music, because you never stop learning, It's the same thing, with all the James Taylor stuff, man. There's so much great music and so many great players have been in that seat. And even if you're doing classic rock, no matter what we're doing, we're always learning, And so I love the fact that I have that opportunity to go back out and do some of these things. And doing the Guess Who thing was freaking awesome. I got called Monday, and the next thing you know, I'm playing the show Vegas Friday. Nice. Sound check. Half-hour sound check rehearsal, do full 90-minute show. And that's a lot, to whether you know the songs or not, you think you might know them, and you realize you don't really know the songs until you actually dig in and figure it out what's really being played. You know, we've heard them, but it's
Yeah.
different playing them.
What's one of the biggest things in drumming that you've changed over the years? Has there been a big change in your playing? Is it something that is your thought process different? Has it always been the same, Troy, or you had to change?
No,
You know,
I don't. All these gigs I play differently, every one of them. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a full percussion kit back here. I don't know if you can see it.
Mhm.
That's my percussion corner. I've got my bottom kit set up in the studio. I've got another kit set. I've got like 3 kits set up here, and depending on what I'm working on, dictates on what I'm playing. So, you know, and recording. You know, I just sent tracks off this morning for the Brian, the Public Enemy guy. Wonderful stuff, man. And I used I used my bottom kit for it, and it sounds killer, man. I mean, you know, so and the other set's much tighter sounds, you know. So, and that's usually what I'm using most of the time. But for this one project that I'm working on with this record so far, it's, you know, the couple tracks I've done so far have been with the bottom kit, and that's a different feel, you know. And I don't slam the crap out of that thing. I probably dig a little bit harder on the other kit.
Right. I remember a song you did, Edison's Medicine, and there's some
Mhm.
Bonham stuff in there.
Sure, yeah, you know, I mean, I have a facility. I've got enough information, you know. I mean, I got to play with the late great Keith Emerson. I don't know if we've ever talked
Yeah,
about that.
yeah,
Or not.
yeah.
But you know, those are things you have to have, you know, something in your wheelhouse, in your toolbox, and you know, you can't do those gigs, um, and not really have something a little deeper going on. You know what I mean? Because and that's what I was really excited about when I got the offer to do that. And I wasn't sure about it, quite honestly. And Mark Benny, I did his last 3 records. He was a music director for Keith, and at the time, but we went into, you know, no rehearsal. I mean, I flew to Germany with a 70-piece orchestra out there, and you know, we recorded like, you know, a lot of music, and it's out. It's called the Three Fates Project. And I never got to rehearse with the orchestra. I just, you know, basically they're learning this stuff and I'm playing it and recording it for the first time. And I got a first or second take, you know, you got to have that stuff. And I worked really hard going into that situation. And anyway, you know, so I'm glad that I have enough in my wheelhouse and toolbox, so to speak, that I could draw from, you know, experience, you know,
Right.
because you can only fake it so far, you know.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Doing this for a long time, a different genres, always in a different set, a different wheelhouse. Is it's a 2-part question. Are nerves still a factor, and is it okay at this point in your life to get nervous? You know,
Absolutely, absolutely, man. I mean, and that's just the passion and the love we have for it. I think we all have. I don't know everybody, but I know for me and a lot of guys that I talk to, you know, I'll tell you a little story on the Emerson thing. First, I went to Mongolia to play live with the orchestra. And, you know, again, you know, we actually did 2 20-minute rehearsals. And then I had to do the show the next day, a live show, which was, I think it was about 45, 50-minute set. And we didn't even run through the whole show until that third day in the morning. And I had a crash and burn moment at the rehearsal where I was like, man, I'm in too deep on this thing. What am I doing? You know? And it was only because I didn't understand the conductor, you know, because we're playing in our times and we're doing some stuff that was not just straight. And I, you know, I would come in early and he'd stop the orchestra and he'd say, "Hey, Troy, man, just look at me." And I'd be watching him, but when, you know, I just didn't get it. You know, I had never worked with a conductor. I'd never done anything like that. So what had happened, the same section came around and I hit the downbeat early again. Well, and that day I thought, oh my God, I've been found out. You know what I mean? I'm in deep on this thing. I got to play the show tomorrow morning. You know, run through the whole set. And I was up all night just kind of sweating it out, thinking like, damn, man, I was nervous and I was like, and I'd listened to stuff and I knew the material, but it was just a connection that I didn't make. You know, and I didn't learn what I'm going to share with you until a month later when I went to Germany. This was right before the Germany thing, before they asked me to go. And so anyway, we got up, we went through the full dress rehearsal that morning. It's a black tie event, and with the orchestra, and I'm live on stage with them, which was real beautiful. I went through the rehearsal and I got through everything just fine. And so it kind of built my confidence back up enough. And I played the show. I did fine in the show. I just probably looked like a deer in the headlights watching them. But so when we got to Germany, when I was playing and talking to some of the guys in the orchestra, and I made friends with some of the percussionists and blah, blah, I told them that story. And they go, Troy, and I was going, yeah, man, I was coming on the down with them. And I go, and I was just, and they'd stop and I'd be early. And he goes, Troy, that's called on point conducting. He's not on point. It's not down here, it's up here. So
Right.
I'm coming in down here, and here's the one.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't learn that. I didn't know that. But, you learn as you go. I did I'm so glad I did it. But coming back to the nerve. So my faith and my relationship with Christ is pretty solid. And because of that, I don't really worry about a lot of things. I trust. And what happened was, I remember after that happened, they asked me to go to Germany. Right after that, I was getting on a plane and they asked me to come record with them in Germany. And I remember looking up, and just talking to God as I do. And I just said, Lord, I'm so sorry for doubting you. I not only am I going to go do this in Germany, zero fear. I will trust you and I'm going to go have a great time. I had not 1 ounce of fear the whole time I was in Germany. I played all the music. I did a beautiful job on it. I'm super proud of it. And it was because of my faith that I was able to approach it that way. And I just knew that I was called to do it. And I didn't have any fear that whole time I was there, man. I got done recording the last track and I walked into the room right next door. I was in a little booth, the booth just enough for the kit, and the full orchestra was outside the glass. And you got to remember, they're all speaking another language. I mean, the only time they would say anything to me, the guy conductor would just look at me, say, Troy, do you know where we are? And I could hear that they had just rehearsed that song. I go, yeah. And he goes, okay. So we would start and we'd record. And if I didn't get it on the first, we never did more than 2 takes. And I was pretty fine. Everything was okay. But I had a really great time, a good experience. And when I hit the last note of the last song, I walked into a little room right next to mine and I just started crying, man. I couldn't believe I did it. It was
Nice.
so unbelievably great. And the fact that, and I say it very humbly because it's not something I would normally do. You know what I mean? But I trusted it and I said yes and I went for it. And good Lord put me through it. I had a great time. It's one of the most musical, most proudest moments I have as far as recording and working with Keith and spending. I was going to, I was doing a whole Japan tour with him before he died. I was all set up to go. It was done. It was all right. We were going, But it's very personal. To this day, I've never posted one thing about any of that. I've never posted a picture. I've never done anything. I just could. It's so personal to me that I didn't want to make it like, hey, look what I've done.
Right.
It was just, I just kept it as a personal moment. I still treasure it to this day for sure.
Was there a time in your life where God wasn't a big factor and you made that change? Has it been a while since you had that faith in Him and that connection?
Yeah, before I'm 29 years sober. So before I got sober, you're just kind of running. I didn't really get saved and get a relationship. I mean, I got saved before I actually started, which was back in probably 1989. And then I really didn't start getting into the church and getting involved and having a real relationship until probably when the band broke up in 96. I started playing in a church and I got pretty active. I started actually reading the Bible and getting interested in those things and prior to all of that, I don't know that it's much different. I mean, I think it is a lot different because with where I'm at today and where I was back then, certainly wasn't, my faith carries me through. Like today, I don't question anything about anything that's going on other than it's all where it's supposed to be. I trust and believe that. like we do.
Yes,
But
if we can talk about that drummer before getting sober and last 29 years.
okay.
Is it a big different drummer? Is it a different
You
drummer?
know, I mean, I think what I love about, well, first of all, I wasn't the kind of drummer or the guy that got high. I was the guy, I was kind of let me see, how do I put this? I I never touched anything before I played, ever. I
Okay.
never got, oh my God, back. I never touched any drugs. I wasn't, but I had those moments where I had been up all night, and I remember Brian, our bass player, coming up to me and going, "Dude, man, that was freaking like so amazing tonight." And he knew I had been up all night and partying and doing, whatever back in the day. We all did it. A lot of
Yeah,
us did.
sure.
And I had those nights that I just went right through the evening, and it's morning and I'm still partying, I'm still going, and damn, it's like, holy shit, we're opening for Def Leppard on the Stereo Tour. And I'm like, damn, we go on in like an hour. I better take a run. So wonder my heart didn't blow out. And then I get up there and I play, and I remember, you know, just having some intense moments. And Brian's like, dude, man, he thought it was so amazing at times, but I never really felt that. But I remember him saying something about it. But what it does remind me of, and I'm not going to, if there's live at the El Macambo, Stevie Ray Vaughan, before he got sober. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's
Okay.
freaking insane, man. He is just on fire, and he's in his moment. You could see he's not sober, but he's tapped into that thing. And later we see him when he is sober, and that little thing was gone. I don't think I've lost that little thing. I know what that thing is. Me getting sober was a good thing. And those, back to what you're asking about. Um, I never really thought too much about it, and a lot of the stuff I did back in the day was not even that I really wanted to do it. I just did it out of people pleasing and hanging out and saying yes. And that's why I take my Toy Shows Up program into the schools, and that's what I talk to kids about.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For the most part, I was always sober playing, and I was always partying after. But I had those times where we would rehearse and we'd play, and through the day, and everybody smoked pot and drank and did whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, there might have been some creative juices and things that might have happened through that, as they sometimes do, as you know.
Yeah. My question I ask because you hear all these bands. I take a band like Aerosmith. Aerosmith, it's noted. Steven Tyler said he did $1 million in cocaine. It's out there.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they
I know.
wrote some of their greatest stuff.
Right.
The Beatles were all on drugs.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
so I look at them saying, that's why I asked you, is it a difference? Because some of these bands didn't have the success. It's just in black and white when they were high and they weren't high.
Right. Well, you find some different things, man. I mean, that was an era in the '60s and the '70s, and acid and tripping and
Yeah.
doing all that stuff, and that's what they were doing. A lot of that. That you never really heard about the cocaine. You heard about the acid and that kind of stuff, and taking these trips, and and I think yeah, I've heard all these stories. I've seen it. I get it. I remember before Jeff, our singer. I mean, he never did a show sober. I mean, everybody smoked back in the day. I think it was '04 when everybody decided to like not, treat it as a business, and get all the drugs out of the way and alcohol, and just be a sober band working, because it's business.
Right.
But prior to that, I mean, Jeff, he always, smoked pot. It was no big deal. Everybody did, and drank. He always was pretty fired up before he went on. I think there was nervousness around that for him even back in the day. If I remember correctly.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
and there was a lot of wonderful. I mean, back in the day when we were writing all that music, everybody was high, for sure. I mean, there was a lot going on.
Yes, I know you're busy with the drums and playing with all these projects and maybe going on tour with this guy. you do a lot of work with kids, and we've talked about it in the past. What's going on with that? You now and the hook that the kids and conveying your thoughts to them.
Well, right now, I've kind of expanded my. I'm getting ready to get back into schools actually, and that's been a lot of subject. We've been on some Zooms and working on that last few weeks. Um, if some of these things happen right now that I say yes to, that might change a few things in terms of you know prolonging a couple things.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I have a foundation called Wake Up to Love. The website's not up. Um, Wake Up to Love is like-minded people like myself. I put a board of directors together. It has to do with everything from you know in the schools, and even in prison ministry, homelessness, addiction, along with what the kids are faced with teenage suicide and people pleasing and just making bad choices. So it all kind of ties together. I've been really involved here in Nashville with a lot of homeless stuff that I've been working with and people. So that's like a few times a week I've been out in the streets and doing a lot of stuff. I haven't really posted anything about it. I'll send you a little video when we're done that
Yeah.
tells the story that you can see what happened in the last couple months. But so these aren't things that I was planning on doing. They just kind of happen, and I kind of answer the call. I call it. Sometimes you see something and you're like, okay, and then I'm like, man, I didn't see myself going in this direction, but yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and move on this and see where this goes and see how I can be effective and why would I get involved with all these wonderful organizations. And I've learned why, and I know what my lane is, and bringing the heads together. And we've got some really exciting things we're going to do here in Nashville that could lead to an arena show. So, and those are things that I think that it's part of my wheelhouse of what I do in terms of just answering those phone calls. Back to the kids at the school. I mean, that's the most primary purpose. If we look at our kids and the youth and what's going on in this world and how important it is, to try to continue to give them hope. A lot of kids that are struggling, and not everybody has a problem with drugs or alcohol, but I think a lot of kids now it's a substitute for phone and likes and Facebook and getting likes and getting attention, and that becomes a drug too. And with that being said, there's the whole bullying thing that happens, and then there's suicide, and these things are very, very real. I picked my daughter up a while back, just over a couple of years ago, when she was in New York because she wasn't doing well and she went through a situation. And I went out there and spent 5 days with her. And then a couple of years ago, I thought, okay, well, it was time. I went and got her and brought her back. She's doing great right now. But the little boy she was with, her little friend, I met him via FaceTime, Garrett, and they had there's these things called suicide pacts with these kids. I don't know if you're familiar with anything like that,
No.
but and I was not either, and I really didn't even believe it. I thought, no, that's crazy. No, that can't be true. Well, come to find out, yeah, these kids they make these suicide pacts together, and unfortunately, my daughter's okay, but she shared some stuff with me. Well, little Garrett, after I met him and after I left her, 2 months later, he hung himself. He was 15 years old. And it just that stuff is real, man. These things are real. I've lived such a beautiful, blessed life, and not that I'm done, but I'd rather have a purpose-driven life doing. I would forgive a lot of things, to just continue to find my purpose in their world and try to be effective.
It,
So that's kind of where I'm at.
it's a great story because you weren't always like this. You wake up to love. I want to ask you a question that regards those words. Is there a time where you woke up?
Um, yeah, yeah. It's been a slow one.
Right.
It's a real slow process. Um, when you're young and you're chasing your dream, man. We we stay on that path and we're going after it pretty hard. And then if you're blessed like we were, everybody's in their 20s, and here we are, we take off, and the band's right out of the gate, first 10 years in coliseums and sold out arenas pretty much the whole time, and all that success, and you do those things, and you go through some trials and tribulations, and then you know then you get sober like I did, and then the process starts, and you kind of start to lift some of the fog, and you start to question why you do certain things, and what motivates you, and and what this business is and what this business is not. Fake friends, and people that you want to believe in, and then you find out differently, that it's not what you thought it was, and then so you just kind of keep going. You make the best decisions you can. You stumble, you fall, you pick yourself back up, and for me, I've just been staying on this path,
Yeah, yeah,
and I the fog has lifted over the years, to answer your question, and it's been a slow awakening. But the one thing that I do know is I'm awake. I'm
yeah.
very awake, and I like where I'm at, um, especially when it comes to having peace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No matter what, I mean, things happen in life, and we just got to get out of the blame game and not blame everybody else. I got my own stuff that
Yeah.
that's mine, and I own it, and it's cool. And I'm not here to blame anybody for anything. I'm just trying to get my own world and my own life right to what is true in my path today. I mean, I love playing drums, man. I'm never going to stop playing, and I'm never going to stop this thing. But having some balance isn't bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for you, you've been through the drugs, the alcohol, probably, and you've been sober 29 years. That's great. But I think your main drug in life, Trillicetta, is drums, and that's a great thing to have. That's your main drug is the drum.
Absolutely. I let me tell you a little quick story on that, because I had to cut this song yesterday. My
Yeah,
studio was down for the last couple months. I did the Nashville drum show here a couple months
yeah,
ago,
I
and
seen that. Yeah,
I'm gonna post what I play, because people it turned out really nice, and nobody's really seen what I've done for that. And I thought, what, I got this footage. I'm gonna go ahead and put it together over the next few weeks, and I'll drop it out there. It's a nice piece of music. But point being, so I haven't really done a whole lot of playing, and I've been real busy with all the Wake Up to Love stuff, and and I'll forward you some stuff, like I said, when we get done. But I got in, I played yesterday, and I was doing editing, and I know Pro Tools really well, and it just felt good to really jump back in, and I realized, man, how much I need to have that. It is a drug. It's a beautiful, man. It just kind of releases those endorphins, and you get happy, and there's so much therapy in it, so yeah, I'm really, really thankful for that. And I did have a little couple of shoulder issues, and I popped a rib, and I had a couple of things happen, and I'm just now physically getting back, and I've been in the gym for the last week. And but yeah, you're gonna see me out doing some stuff. There's things coming up, and it's all good for sure.
it's I'm playing drums this year 40 years. You've been playing longer than that. I think to me it's still I love getting in there, and at times I love knowing what I'm gonna do, but I love going in there and saying I have no clue today. I think it's sort of a process that we go through that I'm okay with.
Well, I can tell you certain things about the way I like to work, depending on what it is.
Yeah,
If it was a Tesla record, we used to rehearse and come up and practice and write, and then the last record we did was a record called Shock in the studio, um, and oh my God, I'm losing my mind here. Um, Phil Collin from Def Leppard, excuse me, he was a producer on it, and they were writing the songs, and at the time putting things together, and I just purposely stayed away from it all. I didn't, and then Phil and I went into track drums together, and I didn't start listening and downloading the stuff till the day before I went in, and then I would do a quick cheat sheet and I'd jump in for an hour and I'd get a few ideas, but I didn't want to have all the preconceived ideas of what was I thought, and I didn't want to practice it, and so I would just kind of go into it, kind of cold each song, but have enough. Okay, here's the chart, here's the song, and there's, it's not rocket science, but and it was nice, to not have worked on anything. The Emerson stuff I did have to work on because it was really challenging for me to learn all that music. So that was a different animal. But for the most part, like yesterday, that situation is a little different in the sense that, I listened to, there was a drum machine that Brian had programmed, and all the tracks are Brian. And there's another guy, Salon, he used to play in Chic, CHIC, now Rogers. And he played with, he's actually had some really great gigs. He's played with Adele and Sting and Rihanna. But anyway, we're a three-piece right now. But point being, I just had Brian's information, and I had worked on another track, and I kind of thought, well, he goes to some pretty great lengths to program. So I'm like, well, I want to be in there. I don't want to just completely, because sometimes I might have a different thought or idea. So I want to stay within the wheelhouse of where he's at, but he wants me to still be me. So I just, I think it was just a combination of the two of us. The band's, by the way, called Resonant Alien. That's the name we're going under.
Cool.
And so I think our first exposure to anything is going to be NAMM. But
Nice.
yeah. So, but anyway, point being, I don't have one. I can go in completely free, nothing, hear nothing, give it to me, let me check it out. No roadmaps even. I've done a lot of different recording and had a lot of different experiences, and that's the great thing about having all these years and playing and working with all these wonderful people. The Whitford St. Holmes record was a complete accident when I worked with Derek and Brad. Speaking of Aerosmith, working with Brad, that was really exciting. And I basically went in Monday. There's a perfect example. Here you go. Here's a better example of what that is I jammed with them a couple of times, and they said, "Hey, can you go in the studio with us?" So I just went in on Monday morning. I set up at 10. They got there at noon, and we didn't do any more than 2 takes on each song. And I was just keeping time, following them through these changes because there was nothing written out, and it was a vibe thing. And I played through 9 songs, and I was done at 5 o'clock Tuesday. I went in Monday, 5 o'clock Tuesday, recorded 9 songs, and I just thought I gave them some scratch stuff. Derek called me a week later. He's like, Brad's freaking out, man. And I go, whoa, what's up, Derek? And he goes, no, he loves the record. I'm going, record? What are you talking about? Record, okay. So anyway, I went back, listened to the tracks, and then the record came out it was done in a couple of weeks. They took full, it was what it was, and the record came out great, and I'm glad I didn't have any time to think. Or even, I didn't even know. I thought I was just giving them some time just so they could figure out what they wanted to do and make a record, is what I thought it was. And then I went on the road with them, and it was fun. So you just never know, right?
Yeah. So for you, it's a different process than somebody else. So somebody might have to, even though you have a plan, sometimes you don't always need it.
I don't think so. That's where my faith and my experience with what I've learned in relationships and people. You just kind of fill out the situation, and if we need to dig in and talk about something. I just did a thing with Kip Winger and this guy out of Panama. It's a 3-piece. It's really good too, by the way. We did it. He called me the night before. We went in the following morning. We recorded 4 songs. And I was listening to it was just a vocal and a guitar, and I was checking stuff out on the way to the studio. And we got in there and we just vibed, and we tracked it all live, 3-piece. He didn't even over the guitar solo. There's no rhythm track behind it, and it's cool. And I think I'm gonna go back in and finish the record with him. But that was a cool thing. And I'd say to Kip, I'd say, hey man, what do you want to do here? And he goes, hey, man, I'll just defer to you, man. Well, he pretty much deferred to me the whole record session, which was cool. I mean, I said, well, look, man, the way I'm approaching this, because it was kind of Hendrixy, kind of a vibe a little bit, that's kind of a spirit.
Right.
I said, I'm just going to take it's like taking Bon and Mitch Mitchell and kind of, Jeff a little bit,
Yeah.
but that was the space, but I was leaning on the side of Mitch, probably a little heavier, and came out great, man. It's really good. And it's not out yet, but just another thing, just here in Nashville. You just never know, man. That's what's cool about Nashville.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have never ended up with Derek and Brad. I wouldn't have done the Doris Day record I did. These are just kind of byproduct of being here, and that I like, and
Yes. How much of what you do, and you hear all these guys getting these callbacks and they're getting all these gigs. How much of what you do in the business is from reputation?
well, I guess certain things, when you're young, you're just getting started, so you don't even know what that is. But because I've been around long enough to have built a reputation, and it's pretty solid, people that know me and they kind of know what to expect, I guess, to a point, or they take a chance on you, you know what I mean? And you find out, and you hope that these things work out. And I've been really blessed that these things have worked out. I mean, I've done a couple dozen records here that I wouldn't have done,
Right.
and I didn't know when I got here. I didn't come here to be a studio guy like a lot of guys want to be a studio guy. I've got to ask them. I said, no, I'm not interested in that. I said, somebody likes what I do. They want to hire me, then cool.
Right.
But I'm not going to go out and look for a gig or try to get work. I don't do that. I let the good Lord handle all that. It always comes and things come my way, and go ahead.
Has there been a time where you actually said to somebody, you know what, I respect you guys for asking me. It's not my thing.
I had one thing come in. Yeah, actually, I just did that with what's his name? Oh my goodness.
Geddy Lee from Rush. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. No, I would go with that. That would
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be fine, and I'd be okay with that. I think with no, there was a thing I got just called, and it was a real proggy thing. See, people think because I did the key thing, I'm a prog guy. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not. I mean, I played the music, and you've listened to me, and you'll hear a different person that you're not used to, for sure. But I'm still not. I don't consider myself to be a prog drummer. But so there was something that recently came up that I passed on that. And I had a film date, TV thing, and normally JR does it. It's Los Angeles, and this was quite a while back, a long time ago actually. But Michael Mason, he was with a guy named James Newton Howard. If you've heard of him, he's a big film and TV guy, and he's done so much work. But it was a movie called Falling Down with Michael Douglas, where he runs around with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie. So I got called to actually, from Michael. Michael had called me. And he said, hey, Troy, JR can't make the date. And he had been in the studio with me. He had watched me work. And I'd been in there with him and Steve Porcaro and such. But at any rate, so he knew kind of like, he felt that I would be fine. Obviously, he wouldn't have called me. And he said, JR can't make the date, but how's your reading? And I said, it's not good enough to where I'm going to go sit in with a 100-piece orchestra. I passed on that, and it was for good reason, because the key thing was a little different. I don't know. I guess it came at the right time.
Yeah. Great stuff. There are just guys out there. I mean, you could read, but not to a point where you would be comfortable in that situation.
I went on a date with Joe Porcaro. God bless him. He invited me, and it was the movie. This was in early 2000. The movie Dinosaur. You remember that little animated thing? It was a cute little movie, and James Newton Howard again was doing it. Jr. was not on that date. There was a 100-piece orchestra. I met Denny Sywell on this date, but Joe Porcaro, Abel Richards, who's done a couple thousand movies, him and Joe were on that, and Joe invited me out, so I went, and I sat there with these headphones on, and they had maybe 6, 7 percussionists. I mean, they had everybody's just reading this stuff on the fly, man, and I had the click track, and I'm watching it, and I'm watching these guys cut this stuff live. It was freaking blowing my mind, man. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It was like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the freaking click track and what they were playing and the change and the time. I was like, no, I cannot do this. I'm okay with this. That would scare that crap out of me. But the beautiful thing that happened that day, I went to lunch with Joe, and there's Denny Sywell. Do you know Denny?
He played with Paul McCartney?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did the first 5 years right after the Beatles. He did Ram and Live and Let Die, My Love, Uncle Albert, all the stuff I love. Matter of fact, to this date, I'm going to say it, Denny, you are the absolute best drummer I've ever heard with Paul McCartney. He was my guy.
Nice.
His feel, his touch, everything. I mean, I love all of them. They were all great, but Denny is my guy I got to meet him, spend time with him, and I used to go to Los Angeles, and I'd stay at his house, and we'd wake up and play drums. Great freaking feel, great jazz. Drummer can read anything you put in front of him. I mean, I can't say enough great things about Denny. And you should get him on your show, Joe.
I'll contact you for that, definitely.
Yeah,
I'd love to have him.
But, anyway,
go ahead.
That's all I got. You know.
Yeah, I got a couple more, and I can't thank you so much. Everything you've done, and you're so busy towards the future. Has that I know the drive is still there, but is there projects that you haven't done yet that you're excited to maybe even try? Is it anything that you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm going to show you just because I can. I'm in the middle of. There's this kid. He's 29 years old. I just brought him out from Reno, Nevada. I'm managing him. I'm producing. It came through my son. A couple year and a half, 2 years ago during the COVID thing, my son was working with this guy named K-Riz out of Reno, Nevada. And my son had a surgery. He had a tumor behind his ear, and they had to take his ear off and put a titanium ear canal and sew his ear back on. And I went to spend 3 weeks with him in California. And he's like, Dad, can you do me a favor? He goes, I can't play drums. I need you to put drums on this guy's stuff. And I said, yeah, Troy, I can. I said, what do you need? And I cut like half a dozen tracks with him. We are in the middle of, right now, I'm going to let you hear 30 seconds of this.
Cool.
It's so good, man. And you'll hear it right over the phone. But this is something I think he's the next thing. So.
Yeah, like reggae meets a little rapish in there.
But we just went and seen Jack Johnson and Ziggy Marley the other night together, and the stuff we're doing now. I mean, we're doing kind of everything, and this is this is another song.
Cool.
So
Cool.
I have him with writers here. We've written a half a dozen new songs in the last couple of weeks that are all so. I mean, I got a Grammy Award nominated guy. He did Jamie Johnson's first record. He did Brandy Carr. He's real plugged in. They've written 3 songs together. This was with a guy named David Norris, another great writer. I'm also playing with this guy right here, John Salloway, another great artist. I tour. I'm doing some stuff with him. I just did his record release party this last year, and John's working with us. He's actually in this project as well. So I just love it because there's so much great music. And I love great music. And the stuff I'm doing is all positive. I don't do anything negative.
Good.
Zero. You know, I'm just really in. And it's all, the cool thing about Kara is he's in the schools too. He has a program called Make 'em Smile. So we're putting a program together. And he's younger. He's got a great look. And yeah, I just think we're going to be doing some really fun, awesome things together. So it's exciting. I'm in a good place, man, for sure.
Good. You are definitely in a good place. We're in a better place today because, once again, you've given us so much. I always thank you, brother. You're always so kind to me, Troy Luccketta, and I can never thank you enough. Huge fan of yours. I love where you are. Wake up to love. I'm just I'm in the same zone you are at times. I love the whole space you're in, brother.
Well, thank you, Joe, and I really appreciate what you do. And we need more guys like you to keep it going, man, because it's just good energy, man. And we got to share with, there's just so much great information, And if you guys aren't doing that, we can't get it out there. So thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, anybody who wants to check you out, where can they go, brother?
Well, I've been really low key lately about a lot of things.
Right, sure, yeah.
Even when I did the Guess Who thing, I didn't even post anything on it. I've been doing a few things. I've been really just kind of doing a lot of I don't know, just I don't even know. I guess just keep an eye on the Facebook,
Good.
Yeah, I think I'm ready to start plugging in a little bit deeper and putting some stuff out there. And I just kind of been behind the scenes a bit lately. That's all.
Good. Well, guys, the world-class human being and drummer, Troy Luccketta, we always say thank you, brother, for this very intimate time again.
Well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. I'm here if you ever need me, okay?
Thank you, brother. You have a great night, man.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much. Great stuff from great Troy Luccketta. We have so much information here. I'm going to ask my producer for a favor, and I'll explain to him when he plays this. If my producer can play the sentent, if we can get that sentent spot on one more time, if we could hear a word from our main sponsor, Sentent Symbol. Around the Kit is sponsored by Sentent Symbols. Sentent Symbols is quickly becoming the choice for drummers worldwide. With their roots going back to the emperors of the Qing dynasty, Sentent blends the best of old world know-how with modern techniques to help old drummers find the best fit for them. Whether you're an avid drumming enthusiast or touring professional, Sentent has the perfect combination of products, pricing, and service to fit any drummer's needs. Contact them today to find out what the drum love is really all about. Sentent Symbols. Forge your sound.
All right, we are back once again with another amazing night of all things drummers, drums, and drumming. Hello, everyone. This is Doug Miola with our new Around the Kit Spotlight Drummer series. Tonight's Spotlight Drummer is Elvin Jones. Elvin was born in Pontiac, Michigan to parents Henry and Olivia Jones, who had moved to Michigan from Vicksburg, Mississippi. He was the youngest of 10 children. His elder brothers were pianist Hank Jones and trumpeter Thad Jones, both highly regarded musicians as well. By the age of 2, drums had already held a special fascination for Elvin. He would watch the circus parades go past his home as a child and was particularly excited by the marching band drummers. Following this early passion, Elvin began teaching himself how to play the drums when he was 13 years old, and he joined his high school's marching band, where he developed his foundation and rudiments. Elvin served in the United States Army from 1946 to 1949. With his mustering out pay and an additional $35 he borrowed from his sister, Elvin purchased his first drum set. Elvin began his professional career in 1949 and went on to play with artists including Billy Mitchell and Wardell Gray. In 1955, after a failed audition for the Benny Goodman Band, he found work in New York City, joining Miles Davis and Charles Mingus for their Blue Moods album on Mingus's co-owned debut label. In the late 1950s, Elvin was a member of the Sonny Rollins Trio that recorded the album A Night at the Village Vanguard, an album cited as a high point for both Rollins and for 1950s jazz in general. In 1960, Elvin began playing with John Coltrane. By 1962, he had become an integral member of the classic John Coltrane Quartet, along with bassist Jimmy Garrison and pianist McCoy Tyner. Elvin and Coltrane would often play extended duet passages. This band is widely considered to have redefined the swing feel and how it is used in the jazz genre in much the same way that Louis Armstrong, Charlie Parker, and others had done during earlier stages of jazz's development. Elvin said of that period of playing with Coltrane, "Every night when we hit the bandstand, no matter if we'd come 500 or 1,000 miles, the weariness just dropped from us. It was one of the most beautiful things a man can experience. If there is anything like perfect harmony in human relationships, that band was as close as you can come." Elvin remained with Coltrane until early 1966. By then, Elvin was not entirely comfortable with Coltrane's new direction, especially as Elvin's polyrhythmic style clashed with the multi-directional approach of the group's second drummer, Rashid Ali. Elvin said, "I just couldn't hear what was going on. I felt like I couldn't contribute to what was happening with the band anymore." Elvin remained active after leaving the Coltrane Group and led several bands in the late 60s and early 1970s that are considered influential groups. Most notably among them was a trio formed with saxophonist and multi-instrumentalist Joe Farrell, who was an ex-Coltrane member, along with bassist Jimmy Garrison, with whom he recorded the Blue Note albums Puttin' It Together and The Ultimate. Elvin recorded extensively for Blue Note under his own name in the late 1960s and the early 1970s, with groups that featured prominent as well as upcoming musicians. In 1969, Elvin played drums for beat poet Allen Ginsberg's 1970 album Songs of Innocence and Experience, a musical adaptation of William Blake's poetry collection of the same name. Elvin also appeared as the villain Job Kane in the 1971 musical western film Zachariah, in which he performed a drum solo after winning a saloon gunfight. Beginning in the early 1980s, Elvin performed and recorded with his own group, the Elvin Jones Jazz Machine, which had a rotating lineup through the years. Both Sonny Fortune and Ravi Coltrane, John Coltrane's son, played saxophone with the Jazz Machine in the early 1990s, appearing together with Elvin on the release In Europe on Enja Records in 1991. His final recording as a bandleader was The Truth, heard live at the Blue Note, which was recorded in 1999 and issued in 2004, featured an enlarged version of his Jazz Machine. In 1990 and 1992, the Elvin Jones Jazz Machine partnered with Wynton Marsalis, performing at the Bottom Line in New York City. Among his last recordings was accompanying his brother pianist Hank Jones and bassist Richard Davis on an album titled Autumn Leaves, under the band name The Great Jazz Trio. Elvin taught lessons regularly and often took part in drum clinics. He played in schools, gave free concerts, even in prisons. His lessons emphasized music history as well as drumming technique. In 2001, Elvin was awarded an honorary doctorate of music from Berklee College of Music. Sadly, Elvin died of heart failure in Englewood, New Jersey on May 18th, 2004. He was survived by his wife Shirley and his common-law second wife Kiko, in addition to his son Elvin Nathan Jones and his daughter Rosemarie Jones. Elvin was a true drumming innovator and remains an inspiration to countless drummers past and present. His presence in the drumming community is dearly missed. Rest in peace, Elvin. Thank you for sharing your incredible talents with us. We miss you.
Hey guys, we are back. Another kick-ass job by Doug Miola and a Spotlight drummer. Guys, we've had the best of the best on the show for 7 years, and this guy, and I always got to keep it real, I always get goosebumps. We've had some great conversations, a true legend, one of the best in the business, but an even better human being, one of the nicest guys in the business. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to Around the Kid, the first time on video, the legendary Mickey Curry. Mickey, what is up, my brother?
How are you, Joe? Nice to see you, man. It's nice to put a face with the voice. We talk on the phone all the time.
Man, we talk on the phone. You've been on the show about 5 or 6 times, and I always say thank you, brother. You've always been so kind to me.
Thank you, man. I'm flattered.
Good. How you doing? What's going on with you right now as far as drums? You know where we at?
Well, I'm home and not doing a lot of playing. A little bit here and there, a session now and then. But I'm home.
You're home.
Digging the summer.
Digging the
working in the gardens. Yeah.
Let's talk about some things. We've touched on so many different issues over the last 5 or 6 years on the show, but I want to start with you and everything you've done in your career. I mean, if we go back to Hall & Oates, we go to the Cult, all the Bryan Adams stuff, Alice Cooper, and everything in between. What has always been the main recipe for everything you do?
It's hard to say. I don't know. When you're a kid, you always want to play with anybody that'll work with you, and you want to play drums on everything. You want to play all kinds of stuff. So for me, it was always, I wanted to get in the studio, but I wanted to play with lots of different things. I didn't want to be sort of stuck with, oh, he's a rock drummer, or he's an R&B drummer, or he's a country guy, or although probably one or two of those things I could use a lot of help with, but I just thought variety, just play music. It's got nothing to do with sort of what style of music it is, or who it is you're working with. Just play just a variety. So I was really lucky to be able to do that. You get calls you go everything from Los Lobos to Alice Cooper, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there. So it's been really cool that I get to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look back on your career up to this point, we always want to talk about things that happened for you.
Yeah.
But were there things that didn't happen to you that may have helped you along the way in a positive way?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think just the fact that you love doing something so much that nothing else is going to do it for you, right? Yeah. So you could be you could play drums, but you could be a really good artist,
right,
or something, or a great writer or something, right. And you follow your passion for playing drums. You don't sort of veer off the path. You stick to that because it's what you love to do. And I've just been lucky, I've been able to just do what I love to do all the time and just keep doing it. So I didn't have any real sort of things pulling me away from it, that I maybe should have taken this road or gone down that path, I just sort of stuck to drumming. So
but I think in the end, everything seemed to work out pretty good for you up to this point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I tell anybody that'll listen to me, I'm the luckiest guy going, man. I just, it's been so much fun,
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's been amazing. You get to work with all these amazing musicians, and you're playing, you're doing what you love to do, you're traveling around, and just getting up there and going for it, get behind the kit and go. So I've been really lucky with that, and I'm
Ye-
really grateful.
Yeah, when you say get up and go for it, I love that because even in this point in your career, at your age, doing for this point, um, was it always important for you, and still now, to always go for it, and
Yeah,
and not really? I don't want to say not matter what the outcome is, because we always have the outcome. But if there's some mistakes or something happen in between, I think that's okay, as long as you're being true to yourself and you're going for it.
yeah, yeah. I think that's a big thing with especially sort of the sessions and the gigs I've been lucky enough to do. You gotta just give it all the time. You give it, that tape is rolling. This might be the thing that's going to live on forever, right? This is
Right.
your little contribution to a song that is just going to be out there forever. So if you've got good direction, like a good producer, or maybe the artist you're working for has very specific sort of ideas, you have to go with that and use your expertise
Yeah.
to give them what they need. But you got to give it all the time. You can't like hold back and go, well, gee, I'm going to play it a little safe right now. Maybe I won't. You got to go for it, man. And usually for me, you do that first take of a song, or maybe even into the second take. You just go for it, and then you see where you are. As
Because
far as who's digging it and who isn't, if the vibe is right, if the groove is, and then you can get into the minutia of the details. But
yeah, because they hired Mickey Curry.
yeah,
Give them Mickey Curry.
yeah, right. You got to do that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
that is, I still don't know what that is, but I do know that when I sit behind the kit and play, you gotta come up with the goods, man. You can't. I don't want to be the weak link in the chain. I don't want to be the guy in the room that uh, where they. And I think Jeff Porcaro or somebody. I think Jeff Porcaro once said this in an interview. He said, um, "I don't want this to be the session where they finally figured out that I don't know what I'm doing."
Uh,
Right? Okay, like this is the session. They're going to know that I don't have a clue as to what I'm
right.
doing.
Always got to bring it.
Just
Always got to be true to yourself.
you gotta be bringing it all the time. Come up with something and stick to it and go for it. You
Yeah,
got it.
guys, the legendary Mickey Curry's been so nice to give me some time. I always love his take. I have a question from you from a big fan of ours. He's from Belgium and he loves the show. Joshua Van Buschen. And his question is from 1991's release, Alice Cooper, Hey Stupid. You did
Yeah,
the album. And his question was, we talked about it, me and you, but I wanted to get his question. The whole thought process on the album, how that came into fruition, and the drum set you used on that album.
yeah. I think I used. Let's see. That was up there in upstate New York at Bearsville, and I think I was playing my Maple Custom kit, but I was using a big kick drum, 24-inch kick drum.
Nice.
I had two racks. I had I was probably using big drums. Well, 12 and 13, and then 16, 18 floors. And I'm sure I had a side snare of some kind. I always use a 7-inch birch. And it's all Yamaha gear. 7-inch birch shell snare drum.
Yeah.
And then I have something on the side, usually I used to use a piccolo all the time because it was a great. But anyway, that's what I was playing on the Alice Cooper record. And they got great sounds on that record, man. The drums are huge, and of course he was happy with everything. He's the nicest guy. He's just the best guy. He loved everything you play. He had no sort of, everything was positive and happy and up, and He was really funny. We laughed, man. We were laughing the whole time. We rehearsed for almost a week, and then we recorded for a week. So it was a couple of weeks with him, and we had a blast. He was such a blast to work with. But I think you know, when you're playing those tracks, you're thinking about all these legendary Alice Cooper songs that have come before you, right?
Yeah.
And you go, what am I doing here? I don't even what am I doing here? I don't get it. But with that said, you just play, and if he was smiling and laughing and jumping around, then you know you knew you had a good take. So
On that album, also included Ozzy Osbourne, Nikki Sixx,
yeah,
and some other great appearances.
yeah. There was just a core band with us. It was three guys. Huey McDonald from Bon Jovi was playing,
bass.
and he was a great bass player. We had a ball, and that was really fun. That was really, really fun. You know, but
Now-
that's the other thing too, is you know the on that session in particular, Huey and I worked out some rhythm section stuff during rehearsals. You know,
Yeah.
to make sure that we could sort of get this stuff on the record without screwing anything up. You know, we didn't want it to be a big tedious, arduous, difficult recording. We wanted it to go smoothly, and we knew time was a factor for Alice. And
Right.
you know, he doesn't want to linger over details on stuff. He just get a great take, make it feel right, give me what I need to get, and let's get on with it. So that was good.
Well, we thank Joshua from Belgium for that great question. Let's talk about that, because I've been on this kick lately, and I always want to know, you know, how somebody thinks. All the stuff you recorded years ago with Hall & Oates, all the stuff you did with the Cult, all the studio stuff with Alice Cooper, and then someone else plays the track. You were hired, a hired gun in some of the situations, not all of them. But do you like when an Eric Singer takes your parts and makes them different? Or now Glenn Sobel, all these guys. Do you like it when these drummers make it their own? These players make it their own.
Yeah, I mean they should. You know, I've had to do that. I mean every live gig I've ever done. You know, all the Hall & Oates. I was in high school the first time I heard Hall & Oates. I was a sophomore in high school. You know, they've been making records for a long time before I came along, and they had huge hits. So I had to go in and play the song. But, you know, it's you playing it. So as much as I wish I could play like Ed Green or Roger Pope or, you know, Jim Gordon, you know, Jerry Marotta, these guys are my heroes, you know. I wish I could do that. I can't. I can only do what I do. So, you know, you sort of, you play the essential stuff. There might be a fill or a certain pattern that's, you know, an integral part of the song. And you got to get it right. So I've had to do that. But I think guys can, you know, you see it all the time. Like Chicago, you know, they've been through a couple guys. Tristan Bowden's amazing. He was incredible, man. And now it's Wally, but Walter's playing. But Danny Seraphine's a tough pair of shoes to fill, man.
Yeah, great stuff early on.
Forget it. He's the best ever. Right? Those first 3 albums, you can't touch the guy, man.
Yeah.
So, you know, those are big shoes to fill. But Tris, in his own right, is unbelievably great. So he went in there and played those songs how he would play them, and you know, good for him, man. That's that's what you got to do with the sort of essence of the part, you know.
That's where the professionalism has to come in, and you just have to go in and just you know, do your job.
Yeah, and I'm sure those guys think the same way about who they're playing, like who they're copying, if you can use that word.
Yeah.
The same way I did, which is these guys are my heroes. I want to play like Bernard Purdie. I played the first time I played She's Gone, I was like, I had goosebumps. I mean, I wanted to cry. It was so amazing to me that I'm getting to play She's Gone with Daryl Hall and John Oates, and Bernard played on the track.
Yeah.
I mean, I was listening to that record in my bedroom at home with my headphones on, trying to play along, you know, when that song came out. Bernard. So, you know, I'm sure Tris looked at it the same way. It's like, you know, Danny's the guy, and you aspire to be that, you know, you just want to be want to do it justice, and you want to honor the part, the way the guy played it. You just want to do the right thing with it. So
Yeah.
but all those guys I had to copy, and there's 100 of them. They're my heroes, man. I was thrilled to death to play Sarah Smile. That's Ed Green on that track. Forget it, Ed Green. Forget Ed Green. There's a guy. Then I could go off on Ed Green.
Yeah.
Come on, you're very white. The drum tracks are frightening.
Barry White
How
stuff.
good they are. But Ed Green was the guy on Sarah Smile. So, and there are no crash cymbals on that track. So I'm out there playing live, and I'm smashing, I'm like smashing away, because you're on stage at Madison Square Garden in front of 18,000 people, and it's a big sound. You got to go for the big beef, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I kind of had to I had to learn how to calm it down. That's such a delicate drum track, and so beautifully done,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So these guys are my heroes, and when you got to copy somebody, I don't have any trouble with where it comes from or how to do it. Just play it the way it's supposed to be played.
Yeah, because for a long time you have a guy like Glenn Sobel playing that album, so he's done a pretty good job too. In Alice Cooper Band. Yeah,
absolutely, man. Great.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Well, Alice, we ran into Alice a few years ago at one of those big festivals in Europe someplace, and he was just so nice. It was great to see him, and he's just the nicest guy. But I can't say enough. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Guys, we're in the middle of this great conversation with the legendary Mickey Curry. Always nice to meet. We talked about so much over the last 5 years on the show. Probably your fourth or fifth time on the show, but I want to talk about you and your playing. Is getting a gig always just about the gig? Always just about a paycheck? Always just about somebody coming in and say, Mickey Curry, legendary guy, let's have him. He'll do the job. Or do you have to make it personal sometimes? Or can you, or not so?
That's a good question, Joe. I usually I make all these sessions personal. You got to get to know the people you're working with, and you can't be a threat. You can't be a jerk.
Yeah.
You got to come in, you got to play good, and you got to get along with everybody. Personality, I think, is a big
right.
Fortunately, but he sent me the most beautiful email one time, and he said, when you smile, you stick around a while. So
nice, yeah.
that was a nice little bit of advice from him.
Yeah,
but,
because
you got to get along. You have to. You got to make it. It's a personal thing when you're in the studio working with somebody. It's very intimate. Everybody's got to feel the song the same way. You've all got to sort of mesh, blend, and you can't have some guy jumping around and a bass player or guitar player or keyboard player or drummer jumping around and showing off and doing this. You just play. You got to play together and play well. And it's very personal.
Yes, personal. Is it a much different animal, the studio and the live perspective to you? Is it a big contrast?
I don't think. Well, I like working in the studio because you can hone in on what you're doing and you can really focus on that particular part.
Yeah.
You go out and play live, it's a whole different energy, It's exciting and you're nervous and you got butterflies and everybody's watching you. You got lots of people around and you can't screw up. You can screw up in the studio, you can fix it, Live, man, you hit that snare drum and it's out there. It's gone. There it goes. There's the thing. And
but also, I'm sorry. You said you can't screw up live. Like I know you have to. You can fix it in the studio, but I guess when you play live, you just have to go with it. I mean, if you do screw up, you just have to play through it.
Trust me, I didn't mean that. I've never screwed up live. I have, and we don't even want to talk about how many times.
Yeah.
But you have to. That's another sort of thing you learn to do. Is if you feel like you're tumbling off the cliff, there's a way to catch yourself or to cover that a lot of times no one will know that you're doing that, or that you just tripped over it or something. But yeah, I've had things go wrong, live, and you just learn to cover.
Yeah.
But that is a thing. Once it's out, it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore unless someone's recording it. And,
Yeah.
You never know.
Oh, we have this thing called YouTube now. This brand new thing
Oh
called
my God!
YouTube.
Every show you do, there's you do a 10,000 seat show, and 9,000 of them, their phones are on the whole time. People are just it's amazing.
Yeah, like so when when you're playing a song, you probably played it over hundreds of times, like a song like "The Summer of '69."
Yeah.
And when you're playing it live, and you didn't write the song, but is it always important for you to represent Brian and the whole team there a certain way, or is there a leeway from gig to gig?
Yeah, I think we kind of play around with, especially those songs, like the big hits. Like I was saying earlier, there are some things that are essential to the song. Like there might be a fill, a drum fill, or a part, or something that is like a signature part of the song. So you got to get those, and you got to hit them. You got to hit them right where they are. And a lot of times you can sort of go off a bit on the outros. Or if there's a solo going on,
right.
You can sort of play a little bit in there, and but the idea is to stick to the sort of the essence of the song, stick to the song, because that's what people want to hear. People come to hear that song the way they hear it on the radio.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear like some new version or whatever, not necessarily anyway. So they want to hear the hits, and you got to play the hits the way they were.
I remember reading a couple of years back, and I told my producer, John Besser, recently that on the song Heaven, that was Steve Smith.
Yes. Great
really
track.
Cool. Yeah, really cool stuff.
Great. That's a great track. It's really fun. That song is so much fun to play live too. But Steve, come on, there's a guy, he's one of a kind, man. He comes up with the stuff on that track is so creative and innovative, and it's a ballad. And he still comes up with the coolest. There are a couple of fills on that song where I just, that's another one. You get goosebumps playing that every night. But yeah, he's one of my heroes, man, and he's a sweet guy too.
Yeah, we happen to have him on the last show.
I know. I watched. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Love him. He's great.
How about this question? I've never asked a guest this question because we have so many guests that have played other drummers' stuff, and you just played Steve Smith stuff. You'll play, this guy's stuff and this guy's stuff. When you're playing someone else's song, you ever find yourself going, "Wow, I'm doing this, and I would have did this, but I can't do that."
Yeah.
You find yourself going, wow, this is so cool, but if I do something, oh, wait, I can't.
Yeah, I do that with my stuff. I do that when you're playing live and you're playing a song that you recorded.
Yeah.
And you go, man, if I could do this over while you're playing it, that's a really good point. You're going, yeah, I could just jump into this right now, and it would work, and it'd be great. But it's not the song, so you got to sort of maybe you can use it somewhere else,
Like the stuff you did with the Cult. It was so good. But me personally, and I do this with everything, so I change everything up. I find that there was a lot of space in some songs. A song called "Love Removal."
Yeah.
A boom, boom, bam. Right. I find that there's space in these songs where I want to insert things. Do you go back now and say, wow, I could have did this and that?
See, that's one of those, the Cult records, both of those albums, one of those things where you get in the studio and you don't have time to work out. Like, it's not like you rehearse this stuff for weeks and weeks and you can come up with different ideas for maybe little things, right? Little inside things maybe you come up. You got to play the song, and it's got to feel right. And then whoever's produced it, Bob Rock produced the first record and Richie Zito produced the second one. But Bob Rock would say, he'd either say, that's not working, let's do something else. or he'd say, I love that, we got it, let's fix a couple things and we'll move on. That's sort of how it works. So if you're not putting those things in that first take or second take, or maybe you go to 3 or 4 takes, depending on the song, if that's not on the track, it's never going to be there. So if you don't come up with it initially, you might be out there live a year and a half later playing stuff and start inserting, But for me, it was always, especially a song like that one, the big open thing, it was the simplest way to get the effect that they needed. There could have been things, I probably could have done some, maybe a little bit of inside fluff, or maybe changed up the kick drum.
Right.
So
Yeah, sure.
kind of where you go.
You just always.
But yes, I get your point.
Yeah, if you had more time to think these out, but you were getting paid and it was this and that. Yeah, it's just like
I don't want to be the guy wasting everybody's time in the studio while I'm trying to come up with a cool little groovy little thing to insert into a drum track. That's not why I'm there. I'm there to just keep the time, get a good groove, make it feel right, big drum sound, get the song. I don't want to be wasting everybody's time on take 15.
Were you now? Because they weren't your songs. Without mentioning songs, were there songs that you did that you didn't like?
I don't know if I could say I never liked a song. I might not have liked
Something
how
you
I
did.
sounded. Yeah.
Maybe they liked it, but you didn't like it.
Yeah. Oh, that happens all the time for me.
Okay.
That happens a lot for me. Yeah. You do a take, and you do a second take, and they kind of like the second one better than the first one, but the first one had all the stuff in there that you would have wanted to keep,
right,
use, or maybe there's a feel thing somewhere that you're tapping in, and they're not feeling it the same way. So, but those aren't my decisions to make.
Right.
There's another thing Jeff Porcaro always said. Jeff Porcaro always said his best drumming was on the tape room floor.
Right.
Like all the stuff you think is worth keeping, they're editing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not. There's a lot of stuff I wasn't all that excited about. For the drum parts that I played.
Right.
But you're there to make an artist happy or a producer happy. You're not there. It's not my record. These are you're, like you said before, you're a hired gun, and you just got to give them what they need. So
yeah, Mickey, I always love your time. I got a couple more, bro, and I thank you for this time. It just I always love talking to you because you're so honest, and it just it conveys so well. Let's talk about the future, and where you were, even 10, 20 years ago, and how you see the future, and anything you're looking forward to as far as drumming, or anything you haven't achieved yet that you're excited about.
That's a good question too, Joe. You're always excited about playing. Like you go play, you want to go play. I'm at the point where I've kind of like, my priorities maybe have changed. The whole thing about just being the guy all the time. You got to work. You got to stay busy. You got to be, you're networking. You're trying to. I've slowed down a lot from that because it's really not especially after this COVID thing. It just, your priorities change. Life is too short. You want to. Traveling is not making me happy, man. There's no way I want it to be out. Airports and hotels and just cars here and there, and gig after gig after gig. As much as playing gigs is great. Staying home, just being here. So I'm looking forward to kind of maybe some session work here and there, if something comes up where it doesn't keep me away from home too long, I might do that. But I've got no, I could never do that. I can't like plan out my next year or, like this is my life plan. I don't do it. I just, if it comes up, great, I'll do it. But like I said, there's a session or two in the next little while. I'll be doing that. That'll be fun. And it's close. It's here in Connecticut. The studio's about 20 minutes away, and it's really fun. Yeah, it's a great place. So, that keeps me going.
Good, bro. We always appreciate your time. Let's check out Mickey whenever he's doing. And I always say thank you, brother, for coming on the show. It's so good to see you and have you face to face and with the video aspect, man. Just awesome stuff.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Well, the great Mickey Curry. Mickey, we thank you so much. Have a great night. I'll be in touch too, man.
Thanks, Joe. Take care of yourself, man.
Have a great night, man.
Yeah. Bye.
Good stuff. All right. Guys, the legendary Mickey Curry. His catalog is just unbelievable. All the stuff he played on, from all the Hall & Oates stuff, Alice Cooper. We're going to those two Cult records. I played so much of that stuff live. All the Bryan Adams stuff live. So we say thank you once again to Mickey Curry. If we can, let's get to our last spot of the night, and she's just been kicking ass. Steve Smith sent her a big thank you for her spot on the Steve Smith Show. It's This Week in Drumming with the very talented and lovely Laura Pepe Altieri. On this day in drumming history, August 28th, 2012, Celebrity Net Worth named Ringo Starr as the world's richest drummer with an estimated fortune of $300 million. All hail the honorary member of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, Sir Richard Starkey. He was born on July 7th, 1940, in one of the oldest and poorest inner-city districts in Liverpool, England, Dingle. The Beatles' drummer, the wealthiest drummer in the world, had a very difficult start in life. He nearly died of peritonitis and was later diagnosed with TB. He spent much of his childhood hospitalized. His illness caused him to fall behind in school. He struggled in math and didn't learn to read until he was 9. The unfortunate events of his past made him ineligible for higher education. His drum love began in the most unlikely of places, in a hospital bed, using a cotton-wrapped spool mallet and bedside cabinets for drums. His mentors were the hospital staff that made an effort to promote music to stimulate motor skills and relieve boredom. His mother's friend and neighbor, who sounds like his guardian angel, Mary McGuire Crawford, not only taught him to read, but inadvertently furthered his interest in drumming with her gift of music, a copy of the Allen Ainsworth song, Bedtime for Drums. At 16, while working as an apprentice machinist, he met Roy Trafford, who introduced Starkey to skiffle, a popular genre in the UK at the time. The two jammed in the manufacturing plant cellar during their lunch breaks, with Trafford on guitar and Starkey either tapping on a box, slapping a cookie tin, or banging on the backs of chairs. When the pair added co-worker guitarist Eddie Miles, Eddie Clayton, and the Clayton Squares were formed. They performed popular skiffle with Starkey raking a thimble across a washboard. In 1957, on Christmas Day, when he was 17, his stepdad gifted him with a second-hand drum kit, a snare drum, bass, and a makeshift cymbal from a garage pail lid. That crude and basic kit were the perfect tools needed to transition from skiffle player Richard Starkey to a rock and roller Ringo Starr. From November 1959 to August 1962, with thousands of hours of playing and hundreds of gigs behind him, he made a name for himself, earning the respect of his fellow musicians. Therefore, getting the invitation to sit on the throne with the Beatles was not by chance, but by choice. Together, they put out more than 150 songs, 20 number one hits, 34 made the top 10. I'd say they made the right choice. It is simply remarkable and awe-inspiring how a poor, uneducated street kid who grew up ill and fatherless, running with street gangs, was able to reach the pinnacle of his career. With just a little help from his friends, he became Ringo's star. At 82, he continues to perform with his all-star band, which he founded in 1989. He's still connecting with us musically and cosmically, sending subliminal messages of peace and love. I believe Ringo and his Beatle bandmates' music will transcend time, just like Beethoven and Bach.